Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. Such an honor to be on your show. I'm just very honored. Thank you.
You're adorable. I am so looking forward to talking about your book. You are a beautiful writer. When I picked it up, your publisher sent it to me and I started reading it, and it's almost like it's written for the ADHD crowd, or maybe that's just me. Yeah. But these bite-sized, impactful, profound, stories, I was able to take one in and think about it and kind of feel it. And then it was like, oh, what's next? And so just great job on the book. It's beautiful, so well written. Thank you so much for writing. I think it's going to help so many people.
Thank you so much. And I love what you're saying about the bite-sized.
Right?
Yeah, it is
for people like me.
And like myself.
Yeah. Okay. I'm so self-centered. I'm like, it's all about me, right?
Me too.
So I like to start off with a lightning round, and it's just a fun way to get started and front load the episode with some resources. When you first got sober, was there a particular book that had a big impact on you?
When I first got sober,
how long ago was that?
12 years ago. So I've been sober about 12 and a half years ago. A big book. The big book.
The big book.
The big book. Wow, that's such a hard question because it took me time to read again, period.
Oh, okay.
I was in a fog when I came in.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So the 12-step literature was helpful?
In time. Yeah, it was a very, very slow process. However, I think back to that time, what was very helpful. Yeah, I was just honestly, I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I was just not in a place to read.
Yeah. You know what? Thank you so much for saying that, because I think that is a common experience that people don't really talk about, is that in the beginning, you're just trying to find your feet. The brain fog is starting to lift, and maybe you're not reading a lot. Maybe did you feel like you were in survival mode in the beginning?
Oh, it was one moment at a time. One moment. I was the kind of person that came in and I experienced deep depression. There was no pink cloud, could hardly get out of bed. And so getting out of bed, making my bed, having coffee, all of the tools, like the next best indicated step. And I felt so paralyzed, because how do you go for me, a place of having used crystal meth for about a decade and drinking, and then not. So waking up sober, it was like, how do I do this when I've spent my whole life trying to escape myself, and now I'm with myself, and it's intolerable. Right? Intolerable. Yeah. Absolutely intolerable. And now that I think of it, there was a book, and it was Daily Reflections, because it's bite-sized. It was the Dale. I've added quite a number of more daily readings to my spiritual practice every day that I start the day with. However, that one was the first. My best friend gave it to me. She was in the program, and she sent me a copy. And at this point, it's very, very worn, which I'm happy
I love that. Yeah. Daily reflection. It's a practice. So I love the daily reflections. Do you have a go-to mantra or quote that you live by? Or a cliche, like one day at a time, like me?
Yeah. Well, really, yes, one day at a time. Mm-hmm. Right now, I really think easy does it. Keep it simple. Next best indicated step. And God help me.
There's a good
You
one.
asked for one, there's 5.
You're an overachiever. I love it.
I just need a lot of help is what I need.
I know,
So,
me too. Somebody
yeah.
was telling me, they were like, wow, you have I like to share resources in the women's group that I have on Facebook or on the podcast. And somebody was like, wow, you have a lot of things that you listen to, podcasts, books, therapies, meditation. I was like, girl, it takes a village. So high maintenance.
Me too. Me too. I mean, when I get to meetings, people are like, how many meetings do you go to a week? I'm like, well, I'm someone that needs a lot of meetings, or not, I get to go to a lot of meetings.
Get to.
So
I love that reframe. That's
yeah.
good. That actually leads right into my next question is, what can you describe what your self-care practice or recovery practice looks like? Whether it's like, do you have like a morning routine, or do you have like a set number of meetings a week you like to go to?
Absolutely. I think that was one of the things I cultivated right from the beginning was a spiritual practice of ritual, because for me, ritual is such a huge part of my using and drinking. I loved the ritual.
Oh yeah.
Right from the get-go, crushing, I don't want to trigger anyone, but crushing those lines in the morning or in the middle of the night or in the drink, like it was all the preparation for it, the ritual of it was so alluring from the beginning. So I really needed and was drawn to replacing that. Right. So in the morning, I start the day with the 3rd step prayer. And I've been doing this for 12 years. I'm kind of just, sometimes it's just on automatic and I don't even hear what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. However, it is the practice. And I have a meditation I do in the morning. It's a short one. It's doable, minimum 6 minutes. And that's coming from a place of someone who came into the program, and I saw that word on the, on the wall with it. And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, I will never do that.
Hard pass.
Pass. Yeah, hard pass. That was in my childhood. I had a meditation pillow as a child, and I wanted to throw that out the window, so.
Oh my God, you must have had, that's right. You must have had so much negative association tied to that practice in the beginning.
I did. And then as time unfolded, that story got old. And I love that it's a program of attraction rather than promotion, because I started to see what meditation did. Like, for example, my best friend of 30 years, and I felt it in her, and I'm like, I want that. So the 3rd step prayer, meditation, and then I do my daily readings. I have 3 that I really love right now. And then I get to have my coffee with toxic French vanilla creamer. So, just jump
one thing at a time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, people are like, well, it's not good for you. And I'm like, believe me, I've snorted gasoline. I'm sure it's, I don't need to worry about what's good for me right now.
You've seen all those funny, like little memes on social media where it's like, I used to do all kinds of drugs and drink, and now I'm reading the label for the vitamins.
I know. It's like, oh my God.
We're so funny.
I know.
You are funny. Okay, I love that. So you were able to overcome your internal resistance. Girl, do you know what a miracle that is? You were able to overcome your internal resistance to something that was good for you.
Yeah. And it took time, and it's just like the name of your podcast, one day at a time. It was 1 minute. I think I started meditating with 1 minute at a time. Mm-hmm. And then it became more, and 1 minute I could tolerate within myself.
Right.
And it's not just it's everything.
Yeah. There's so much going on in the beginning. Your brain is healing, like your dopamine receptors are starting to heal, and your whole neural circuitry is healing. There's a lot going on in the beginning. It really is 1 minute at a time.
Yeah.
I have a girlfriend who tattooed on her forearms just this, right? As a reminder to stay in the present moment. Like when she starts future tripping, it's just this.
I love that.
No,
I love
so
that.
simple.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many meetings are you doing a week? You said you're going to a lot of meetings.
Yeah, I am someone that I need and I like to go to a lot of meetings, and I get to. So right now I have I think 4 in-person meetings, and then I do that are my staples. No, 3 in-person meetings that are my staples, and then I have family literature that's meeting that's with my sponsorship family, sponsees and sponsor. And then the other ones, because I am also in another program, I scatter the other 2. So,
Are
yeah.
you open to sharing what other program you're
Oh
doing?
yeah, of course, absolutely. Al-Anon.
Oh, okay. Man, Al-Anon seems so hard. I have been resistant. I'm like, no to Al-Anon.
Yeah, believe me.
I'm supposed to say that, but
no, same.
Hard.
Yeah, I've been in that program for about 5-6 years, and I'm on the 4th step, so it's a very slow process.
Ooh, okay.
And I love that about it. And absolutely, it is. I hear you.
I mean, you take a drink and you're like, oh, that's a relapse. Alan, I just don't know. I just don't know. It's too much gray area for me.
Yeah.
Super hard. I give people a lot of credit who are able to do it. Congratulations.
It's completely it's contrary to AA, that's for sure. With saying yes, it's that fine line of like, yes, oh no. Like,
no,
like,
yes.
No.
They should call it People Pleasers Anonymous.
Exactly. Yes.
I have all the isms. I just can't do it. I've tried. I dabbled. Maybe when I get better. I don't know. I digress. Is there what's one thing you wish you knew when you first got sober?
Oh,
that's a hard one. I asked this question because the purpose of like mentor and mentee is that the mentor learns things and they can accelerate the learning of somebody who's new. And and I've heard things like I wish I knew that this was normal. Like I'm right where I'm supposed to be, or that this stuff just takes time, or is there anything like that kind of comes up for you?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Stay away from boys.
Well, I definitely stayed away from boys. That was, I went to mainly gay meetings. And so I'm still very much in that circle.
Okay.
Dating was, I just, didn't want to, I just, didn't want that also on my, I was like, I think I just need to step away from all of that right now. Because
that is not a bad idea.
When I came in, I had 2 sugar daddies, a boyfriend and a lover, and it's in the book. Well, not maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
It's on the back. It's on the back cover. Do you mind if I read the back cover?
No, please do. Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah.
Born in the Bohemian 70s, Hannah Sword was abandoned by her mother and lived with her father on an island with no stores or cars. Kidnapped and molested by a stranger at age 6, she grew up to be a stripper and a prostitute with a taste for crystal meth. Quote, or parentheses, which at least seemed like a surefire way to lose weight. So lots of humor in the book. Strip is a hilarious and heartfelt memoir of one woman's journey from innocence to a darker world and beyond it to growth and grace, with stops along the way for silent gurus, Iranian and Orthodox sugar daddies, foot fetish work, and drinking in the CVS bathroom before therapy sessions. I have so many questions. One, is it bad to do foot fetish work? Is that like a side hustle we can explore?
Well, yeah, right. Well, that was my last Thanksgiving not sober, was doing an interview with my sister. I decided to quit my job and placed an ad on Craigslist to do dominatrix foot fetish work with my sister. And that,
And how'd that go?
Well, I was just going to give the answer, but I think
Sorry.
I was just going to give the answer. It's in the book.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Listen, it's too much. There's too much. Like just that, it's like there's too much. We won't be able to cover it all. So funny. How does it feel? How did it feel to hear me read that? Are you just like, oh my God, is that my life?
I know it's been writing it and living it, you know, in sobriety has been such an integrated process for me. And I think that's why it took such a long time for me to write the book, because I really needed to heal along the way. It was part of the writing of the book, right? The very act of it. So to hear that read out loud, no, I will say though, because you have an advanced reader copy, that back has slightly tweaked. So I was kind of like, it's the same story, but it's like, just slightly tweaked, but you know, it's still this, it's just the same. How, yeah, you know, it's, yeah, I liked hearing that loud. I'm like,
that's
oh,
awesome. Yeah. I mean, the book, yeah, I love everything about it. The cover, the stories. I mean, yeah. I'll leave links in the I'll leave links in the show notes, so everybody must get. Are you going to do an Audible version at some point?
I hope so. I hope I will.
I love Audibles.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I love listening to them in the car, and especially ones about sobriety. Yeah. They have helped me so much on so many days on the way to work, you know, in the hour traffic, it just flies by from listening. So I really hope to. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, I hope you do. Yeah, I hope you do. I love those. And I think it would be amazing. And we were talking a little bit earlier about spiritual experiences. And I'm been really curious about people's spiritual experiences because we hear stories, but it's like there is no teacher like experience, right?
Yeah.
So does anything come to mind when you think about a spiritual experience?
So much, Arlena. I don't even know where to begin. You know, the first thing that comes to mind is one of the things I share with my sponsees is to look for the evidence, right? To look for, and that's the one thing that I have been able to do is take a look at, as my sobrieties unfolded and even pre-sobriety, where was there evidence of something greater than myself, taking care of myself? That has been a very long process for me because I came in so empty. However, it didn't take too long to start to see that there was something bigger at play. And I started to build the evidence, right? And as an example, so when I got sober, I don't know if this is giving away from the book, but anyway, aside from that, when I got sober, you know, and I had the sugar daddies, I knew for myself that I couldn't continue that line of work, right? It would take me towards a drink. It's that question of is either taking me away or towards. And for me, it was the towards. And so when I stopped doing that, I was petrified. Like, how do I pay my rent? And how do I do that sober? How do I show up to work sober? How do all of it, right? And I remember the day that I had, you know, with this one sugar daddy who was an incredibly nice man. And he said, he was devastated because we had a, you know, there was a bond there, not a sexual bond at that point. And he said, I want to, help you and to take care of you anyway, you know, and I can't do that. Right. And saying no to that and trusting that I would be taken care of. At that point, I didn't trust because I was so early in sobriety. However, I had a neighbor, and this is a strange example because it's not about the external things, but I always loved her style. And she, within an hour of me doing that, she didn't know, she dropped off all these bags of clothes that she was going to be donating to the Goodwill. And it's not about the clothes and the bags, but it was the symbol of, oh, I'm taken care of, right? And there were so many things along that way. And the evidence that, okay, so I got that sober job at a dog store, stocking, working dog stew for a year and a half. How am I going to pay the rent with this minimum wage job? And it was really like one moment, one day at a time, and one like of showing up and really learning to trust that I would be taken care of. I didn't know what that was going to look like, but I was, right? And when I start to lose faith in my higher power, I look to my sponsees, I look to people in the program, and I get to see, oh, there it is. Like I have one sponsee, and it chokes me up every time I talk about her. She was doing community service to get a felon off her case, or wiped out, and it was 350 hours of community service. This was 8 years ago when I started working with her. She just celebrated 8 years. So she was, sweeping the streets. She was, doing the community service deal. Her dream was to go back to school, right? And I kept telling her all of what she was doing because of my own experience, going to benefit it wasn't for nothing, that was going to show up later in her sobriety. I don't know how or in what way, but now all these years later, she has a full ride at USC.
Wow.
And I don't mean it to sound like she did this and then this happened. No, it was so much work, but there was the evidence all along the way that she was being taken care of. And that's a spiritual experience to watch that in another woman.
100%. I mean, so you're really touching on something that's so important, which is this idea of trust, right? That there is, like they say in the rooms, God could and would if they were sought, right? And that I had that experience where I was like, I knew that this higher power could, I didn't know if it would for me.
Yes.
And that's why we have to have those experiences, evidence. That's what, that's actually, you said it best. It's the evidence. We need evidence. And I feel like the experience and the evidence go hand in hand to give us that hope that we need to keep going.
Yes. And I have a God box, and in that box, I've had it for 12 years. I've put in little things, and I've dated it over the years. It's not completely full. It's not about that, but it's about putting those things that I need to, like, once in a while I'll open that and I'll look at it and I'm like, oh my God, all of those things were taken care of. All of those things, not in my time and not in my way, but it was like writing the book. I came in and it was on top of getting sober. It was I knew I needed to write again, but it was so far from, and that whole process, but I mean, a spiritual experience,
Yeah, writing the book. Yeah, I bet.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's so interesting, the idea of we like to talk about solutions, right? And one of the solutions being a God jar. And I've had God jars where, it's like you write something down and you just write it out. It gets out of your head. It gets off of your heart. You put it on a piece of paper and you put it in a jar or a box or whatever. And that is an act of surrender. It's an act of release, right?
Yes.
And it's so interesting because it's hard to receive with a closed fist, right? Like fear, and I have to do this idea of self-reliance, right, is so prevalent that we're like clenched. It's like being clenched with a closed fist. It's hard to receive when you're just so like trying to control everything. And that is a really beautiful act of surrender, to write your fear on a piece of paper and then give it away.
Yes. Yes, it really is. Yeah.
It sounds like it's been working for you for 12 years. That's a long time.
And every time when I put it in there, I'm like, this is not going to work out. Even though I have all, like, though I have all this evidence, it's not like I'm like happily putting it in there. It's like I'm crying. I'm like, God, take this and this, but you're not going to do, not this time. I know it's not going to work out this time, and I'm not going to be okay.
Funny. And that's normal. I do that too. At 28 years sober, I'm just like, not this time.
Right? I'm like,
I don't know what that is. I think that's part of like our neural programming that nope, can't trust.
Yeah.
I must do it. Actually, I think that's born out of trauma, right? Like,
yes. So. Yeah, I think so too. And I just, I loved your questions, Arlena, especially about the experience. I could just go on about that spiritual experience, I'm
going to have you write a story to include in the book, the 12-step exploration. Okay.
I will. I mean, so as I had, with my greatest fear happening this past year, father passing.
Yeah. Your father passing. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, now there's like 3 of us on the side.
There's 2. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
But you were just saying I lost you at your worst fear was realized this year.
Yeah.
Do you want to say that part again?
Yeah, my greatest fear happened this year. My biggest fear was losing my father. And I remember when I came into the program, I would hear people about, their mother or father had passed, and I'd be like, oh, there's no way I won't get through that. And in the 12 years over the program, I feel like that 12 years prepared me for this, not feel like, I know it did, prepared me to show up in the best way I could and be there and not fall apart. Not that I'm not saying it's bad to fall apart. I mean, and I'm not saying I haven't been on the kitchen floor, crying out. However, I'm not drinking. I've stayed sober.
There it is. You stayed sober through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that we learn in recovery is to allow ourselves to have all the feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lost my mom last November, and it profoundly changed my life.
Yes.
And I let myself be sad, and I disappeared from social media for a little while. I stopped creating content, and I was out, but it does profoundly change you, but you stayed sober through the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it is it's the biggest, aside from sobriety, it's been the biggest spiritual experience. It's just, I'm like, I don't even have words yet. It's too soon. And also what you said about social media, especially with the book coming out, the timing of it was just like, wow, I just made the choice that I'll put the energy into promoting the book when I can, but right now wasn't the time. And, so it's been delayed, and it's, just.
I feel like everything happens when it's supposed to. Right? Like your book will reach the exact right person at the exact right time.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
nothing is ever lost.
Yeah.
And you're doing the best you can, which is, you're doing amazing, really.
Thank you, Arlena, especially coming from you. I really admire you.
You really are. Let me just take a little step back. I don't want to go too much into your story because I want people to buy the book.
Yeah.
But what I'm really always curious about is because there's so much resistance to recovery, right?
Mhm.
Internal resistance. And that those moments of clarity are so interesting because they happen different for everybody. Did you have a moment of clarity, or how did you decide that you were going to get help and stop doing
Yeah.
other things?
Well, I I mean, my whole drinking and using it was really a bottom. So it really wasn't a party. And so when I think about what was it that changed on one day from the other, it's really impossible to pinpoint because it was just as bad all along. I mean, things got worse. However, it was bad from the
The whole
beginning,
time.
the whole time,
Yeah. The whole time was
right?
painful. Yeah.
Yeah. However, I was 39 and I had a new therapist who I really loved. And I had just been seeing her maybe for like 2 or 3 months. And I grew quickly attached to her, perhaps partly because my attachment to women, well, I'm not sure. It's, a lot of it's probably tied to my mother leaving when I was, very young. Uh, and I would drink before therapy because, that's what I did
Yes.
in
Yeah.
the CVS across the
That's
street, in the
it.
bathroom there. And then sometimes, in the waiting, not the waiting room, but the bathroom at the therapist's office. I remember sitting on the toilet drinking champagne before therapy.
Champagne.
Cheap champagne from CVS that I had stolen, because I was a big thief. And she early on said, Hannah, we can't, because I just remember she was sitting on the couch, her flowered skirt, her toenails all painted and pretty. And I just thought, how does a woman do this and sit there with their nice, glass of water and mint in it? And here I was drinking in, the CVS bathroom, the champagne with, and then, and she said, we can't, if you come in like this, if you continue to come in like this, we can't do this work.
Oof.
And I had been seeing a therapist throughout my whole using, and she had never said that. And so this new therapist, when she said that, I heard her and I knew. And the next day I went to my first meeting, and it
Wow.
makes it sound like, and then first meeting. No, it was all the years leading up to that.
Yeah.
But I remember I looked in the meeting guide and I walked down the street 2 blocks to the closest meeting. It was a Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. I still remember it. Melrose and Mansfield in Hollywood. And there was 6 people in the meeting. And I can't remember anything from the meeting other than everyone gave me their cards. And I still have those cards in a little drawer to this day, and the hand of the program was extended. It took me a long time to even make any of the calls, but the fact that they gave me the numbers and I had like that hand extended, it helps me to remember that is how important it is for me when I go to meetings to extend my hand, whether or not someone calls me or not, it's none of my business.
Right. Man, there was a lady when I first got sober who used to walk around and be like, "Hi, I haven't met you yet. My name's Cece." I'd be like, oh, "What?" That's brilliant. So I totally have stolen her line every time I go to a meeting. I'm like, "I haven't met you yet. Like, I fully intend to meet everybody. Like, I'm gonna meet all y'all. So who are you?"
Yeah.
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 I think people are so grateful when you just walk up and be like, "Hey, I haven't met you yet. My name's Arlena," whatever.
Yeah. And you just never know. Like I've had someone that came up to me years later and said, "Oh, you were the first person that said hello." And I was like, "I was?" And he's just like,
Yeah,
and it was just like how much that meant to him. I'm like, wow. I mean, I get that. The same thing with
absolutely. Yeah, I feel we don't really realize the opportunity for impact that we can have when we keep going to meetings. People ask me like, "Why do you still go to meetings?" And I'm like, one, I'm lazy. It's like a ready-made place
Yes.
for people who get my kind of crazy. I get to make new friends. We all, none of us do small talk, right? It's like we get
Right
real.
to it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I could run into, I mean, all the times that, I'm out in the world, I'll be at Trader Joe's and I'm having a bad day and I'm picking out tomatoes and someone from the program, appears and they're like, how you're doing? And I just start crying. And
Crying.
they're like, oh, girl, you're going to be okay. I'm like, I am okay.
Oh, thanks.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
And then we just hug and say, okay, bye.
Okay,
Not a big,
that's so funny. Yeah, no, that is, I love that part, like the fellowship, the community. I mean,
Oh,
us girls need to be safe, but there's so many good things about it. That's why I keep going.
oh, me too.
I'm glad to hear that after 12 years, you keep going too.
I'm so fortunate that I've made the greatest friends. And, for whatever reason, I've just been fortunate to stay in the middle. I haven't wanted to go anywhere else.
You did the work. I mean, this is a program of action, right? And so, we overcome our own resistance, whether it's complacency or fear, whatever it is, we do the work, and it's just cause and effect. That's all it is.
And it's still not easy. I mean, last night I got, was asked to speak at a meeting in Marina Del Rey. And I was like, well, I don't want to schlep over there on a Tuesday night at 8:00.
8:00. That's like the middle of the night.
Exactly. And I'm like, and right now I'm so off. I don't feel like speaking. I don't have a message. I'm not on the beam, and it's all me. My friend picks me up. We get there and it's an amazing meeting. Once again, proved wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny when I think I have nothing to say. That's typically when, my higher power speaks through me.
Yeah. And getting to be honest about that. Like, where else do we get to do that? Speaking last night and telling them, I don't want to be here. I did not want to come.
I love it. I love when people's like, I hate this shit. I don't want to be here.
Yeah, I find this room, this room has always depressed me. This is in, and then all of a sudden it's like by the end of the meeting, I'm like, I love this room.
I love everybody. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah,
it's so funny. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you, where can people buy the book? Is it going to be, you have a website?
I do. It's you can buy it on Amazon or order it online at any independent bookstore through bookshop.org or through Amazon. And awesome. It's called Strip, STRIP, a memoir. And then my name, Hannah. I'm giving all the details.
Give all the details, yeah.
HANNAH, Sword, S as in Sam, WARD. And then there's my website, hannahsword.com, and it has links to the different bookstores. But pretty much you can order it from any bookstore, especially through bookshop.org, because it does support independent bookstores. Which
that's great.
I'm a big fan of. Yeah. Bookshop.org. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll put the links in the show notes. And where can people find you? Are you on social media?
I am. I'm on Facebook.
If you want to send me the link, I'll put it on there too. You're on Instagram too?
As of last month, I'm on Instagram.
Yay.
We're like, you got to do it. And I'm like, okay. So I have like 2 followers and, so come on in.
What's your Instagram handle?
It's at Hannah and then Davi, DAVI Sword.
Awesome.
I heard you're supposed to pick like something short and catchy, and I didn't, I'll have to change that at some point and figure all that out.
Yeah, it's not always easy, but here we are.
Here we are.
We do the best we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Hannah, it was so lovely to meet you. I'm so glad we finally got to connect. I'm so excited for your book. I think it's going to be a smashing success. It's riveting. And I want everyone to read it.
Thank you so much, Arlena. And I know that you had, you've had so many amazing authors on here, and one of them is Amy Dresner. who probably many people are aware, familiar with, and we're doing an in conversation at a virtual book launch for myself. So I'll be in conversation with her on September 26th at Powell's, and that will be up on my website as well. So there's some fun events that I get to be a part of.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have a very strong community of women who support each other, and I just love us for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Arlena, thank you so much. It's such an honor. I'm just thrilled to be on your show, and thank you for the work that you do at large in the recovery community.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my honor, and I'm so grateful we got to spend some time together, and I look forward to connecting some more in the future.
Me too.
We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye, love.
Bye.